Kia ora koutou. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for Webinar 3 in a series of 6 webinars to support participants in Samsung's Solve for Tomorrow competition. My name's Julie Baker. I'm Head of Education here at Auckland's MOTAT, and I'm one of the judges for the Solve for Tomorrow competition. And joining me is Sarah Washbrook from TENZ, Technology Education New Zealand, who's also a competition judge. Sarah will lead us in a karakia.
Maori ora, kia a mātou, arahina mātou, ia mātou mahi, ki mihia he huarahi mō te kopapa o te mātauranga rangarau. A whina atu, a whina mai. Te po e here nei ia mātou, hui taikie.
The whakatauki for the session. He kai ki aku ringa. I have food in my hands, my abilities and resources are abundant. Speaking to the resources, we have to draw on our own skills, knowledge and experience, and our ability to draw on the same from others around us. So the structure of this webinar will follow the similar structure from webinar 2. We will talk about a topic from the design thinking process. We'll provide some content on that. We'll identify some additional resources on that topic, and then we'll turn our attention to the assessment in the junior categories and the assessment in the senior category. So we'll start today with just a quick recap on the design thinking process captured here in this schematic. Webinar number 2 talked about identifying a problem, which basically aligns with the empathising and defining part of this process. Today's webinar is going to look at the ideation stage.
So when you start to ideate, ideation is all about brainstorming down lots and lots of different ideas, not just being stuck on one idea or thought, but trying to put as many things down as possible. And there's lots of different ways that you can do this. One great way is to start individually and then share with a group, or go opposite, work together as a group to put lots of ideas down, brainstorm, post-it notes, discuss. You can provide evidence of that brainstorming session and discussion session by recording a video if you wanted to of your group coming up with ideas. But essentially you are coming up with as many ideas as possible. Think outside the box and think of things that are a little bit different. And the key thing with brainstorming is there is no idea that's a wrong idea or a silly idea. It's all about just getting ideas down. So you can record discussion if you want to. You can use brainstorming tools with post-it notes, like the example on the screen here. You can create what we call mood boards. So mood boards are used by many designers. And essentially it is a space, and it can take up a whole office wall, where people are putting down ideas and for inspiration. So it could be fabric samples or material samples, or it could be images of where the outcome is going to be used in the future. It could be some ideas of quick sketches and thumbnail ideas and ideated ideas. So it's basically a place where someone can sit and use it and look at that space and use the ideas for inspiration in the future. So ideation is about putting down lots and lots and lots of different ideas very quickly. Then we can move on to what we call conceptual designs. And this is where you will select a couple of those ideas that you think would be really worthwhile to explore further. And in this idea, you're looking at those ideas in a little bit more depth. You may look at how it's going to work. You may start to think about the materials. You may look at other ideas for inspiration. So the example we have on this slide, you can see that there are ideas of products that they may have found through their research stage, and they're using those ideas to bounce and create further ideas. They're not copying the idea, they are modifying and they are improving it to make it better, to use it to inspire them. And you can see that they're using different formats. So you could use 2D sketches, 3D sketches. You can be discussing things if you want to. If you have a key idea that you really like, you can use colour and rendering techniques to highlight those ideas and make them stand out. Remember, when you're doing your idea stage, that you need to make sure you link back to your stakeholders and to the research that you've always done. So you are always linking back. This is part of the process where you're looking at what you've done before to help you to inform what you're doing now. So think about, what do your stakeholders need? Yeah, what is out there currently, and use those ideas to help you to come up with some conceptual designs. The next part is to start to think about really clearly is, what are these things doing? So you can actually start to annotate, which is labeling and explaining the ideas themselves a little bit more deeper, so that you can understand how things are going to work, what materials you're going to use. You may go back to the attributes that you've written or the specification points and making sure that it is what we call fit for purpose. Does it do what we want it to do? So we're using those attributes to measure the designs to see whether they're going to be suitable to continue on further. You can also obviously make sure that you've got stakeholder feedback coming through here as well whilst you're annotating. And once you've annotated, then you can start to go into the analysis and evaluation. So this is where you're looking at those conceptual designs and you are focusing on the good points and the bad points. What's great about these designs? How well are they doing? What's not so great? And by looking at this analysis, you can then enable the process to continue, because you would choose the most suitable idea, or you may have two ideas, to go through to the next stage of the process. So really evaluating what you have done, how you've done it, and will it succeed as a potential outcome in the future. If you're struggling to come up with ideas, and I know from being in the classroom, many of my students will come up with one idea and go, this is the one I want to do. What we want to do is we want to get you to be really creative and innovative. So this technique is the Scamper model, and you can use this to help to develop an idea. So if you have just got one idea, then you can work through the Scamper technique to actually change, modify, and adapt that one idea. So you can use substitution, so you can look at that one idea and replace parts of it or ideas of it. You could combine two different ideas together to make a new idea. You can adopt things, so you can change the shape of things, or you can tweak it, make it more technological if you want to. You may want to do the M, which is modify, magnify, and minify. So it's changing size, shape, scale of different parts of the design, some of the different features, and see what that looks like. You could put it to another use, try and change where it's going to be used and how it's going to be used. You can eliminate, so you may have some features on there which you think, oh, these are too much, or do I really need these, or did the stakeholder want these? And you could take things away. And then you can also rearrange and reverse. So if you're using patterns and layouts in your design, then you can obviously change things around. So the Scamper technique will help you to move from having one idea to having a range of conceptual designs.
I think it's an important point to make that as a judge, we need to see evidence of your process right from the beginning through to the end. And all of that front end, if you like, where you're trying to identify your problem, and then you're narrowing in on the one problem you're going to solve, and then you're coming up with a range of ideas about how to solve that one problem, and then you narrow in on the one idea that you're going to progress. All of that information there is important to present to us so we can see that process that you've gone through. Don't be tempted just to start at the one outcome that you've decided to develop further and start at that point and present from that point on. We really like to see that process right from the beginning. When you're confused and you're still trying to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, give us all of that evidence, because it's really rich for us to be able to make an assessment, which segues nicely into what the judges are looking for in the junior category. So the work you do in ideation and concept development pops up into the creativity and the STEAM criteria, both with 20%. In the creativity criteria, we're going to be assessing whether the discovery or approach is very new. So we need to see that research you've done. We need to see all of that ideation. We need to see those annotations. We need to see that there's something that's different about the product or the final outcome that you're going to develop that is different from those existing solutions. And you can capture that for us in those notes and those sketches and in your record. In the STEAM criteria, we're looking to see the elements of the design process or a process have been documented. So you may be, for example, following a kind of scientific testing process. We want to see that that is kind of documented in your presentation to us. You may be following a design process, and we're wanting to see the evidence of those steps that are coming through. Again, just reiterating, it's really important that you provide evidence for us. If you are ever in any doubt about whether something should be included in your presentation, my default would be to put it in there, because it may provide